The first one is our seed program, which is based in Shenzhen, helps the companies go from a Frankenstein prototype to market. And we decided to open about a year ago a new program in San Francisco, which is our growth program, which kind of takes care of, hey, now I have a product to market, what should I do? How do I get onto Amazon? How do I get into Target? How do I work with the big companies like GE? And we've created a curriculum in order to do so.
You brought up in your presentation that plenty of hardware startups, particularly in the US, aren't doing so hot. What's going on with hardware startups?
Most startups will say the problem is money, but I will have counter-arguments about that, actually, because I think the problem is always relating around skills about how do you manage your company. And in hardware, it's demultiplied by the complexity of the fact that, unlike software, you actually need to partner with people, and that's the most fundamental difference. In software, you could stay behind your computer, two people in a garage, and and never have to talk to anybody at all. But hardware takes a village. You will need partners from factories down to distributors and retailers. You will need to actually get out and talk to people and leverage their resources and their skills to your benefits.
You referred to Shenzhen as having superpowers with respect to manufacturing for startups.
The Chinese companies have been fundamental in the way we've been thinking about hardware. And not only Chinese companies, but I would say the Chinese culture, or at least the Shanghai culture in Shenzhen, which has been, I think, kind of mistaken in the way that people were looking at it as a copy to China and not very innovative. But actually has been innovative in many terms, and not necessarily products originally, although today I think there are innovative products coming out of the Shanghai movement, or startups, of course, that are using the Shanghai spirit. But in terms of how they use the supply chain, how they design products, how they share information from within Shenzhen ecosystem, which essentially managed to create an environment where you could build 10,000 devices of one thing. And this is I think the biggest common denominator about why we decided to be in Shenzhen.
Do you consider the Silicon Valley style ecosystem an old model?
So Silicon Valley is obviously very linked to VC and to investments, essentially. So the model for high growth companies has always been about the fact that you raise more money in order to either grow the pie faster or go to market faster. And it works in some cases, but unfortunately in hardware, most of the companies have always been wasteful for the most part about, hey, I have $10 million, I'm going to spend $5 million into using some design third party to do something. And over-engineering, essentially, things. So that's the behavior we try to change a bit by making sure that the companies actually have a first pass, get the right DNA in their company, as in, hey, now I know how to build a product from scratch. And actually, that first product doesn't really matter. What matters is what I will learn from the market in order to build a second product afterwards. And a very heavily funded company here will have a very hard time to take that approach.
What hardware is being worked on by the startups in your accelerator that excites you most?
We're very excited about robotics in particular, because the actual cost of building a robot is going down like every other things. Of course, the autonomous cars are going to create new opportunities for robotics companies, because the cost of LiDARs, the cost of general computer vision and signal sensors type of components will continue to go down. So the cost of robots will go down, which means that we'll finally start to see some of them around us. We have a company called AvidBots, for example, that does industrial cleaning all around the world. They have about 100 robots running around and doing their thing. They're just cleaning.